Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Welcome to the channel. First time, like and subscribe. Consider donating. Hope you enjoy the content. Boom, look, Gerald Miller, man. He came back, got a win against Browne. The reality of the situation when it comes to Gerald Miller is, look, I'm just not sure he's going to be able to land a big fight. And let's be for real. He was able to get out there in Dubai, get a fight in the Middle East. You guys know how I feel about the Middle East. You know how I feel about Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia. I think fighters should get their money, especially if those guys are going to pay them a flat fee and pay them 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times more than what they can make in the States. But I do have my concerns just about, what's going on behind the scenes. You understand? But that being said, it's a whole nother conversation. I'm not here to get into that. But bottom line, with Gerald Miller, he comes in, scores his biggest win since returning to boxing. Browne is an ex-heavyweight champion. I mean, that means something. I don't care what you say. He's on a winning streak. You know what I mean? He just recently knocked the guy out. So Browne wasn't a slouch. He's very durable, and he still got it. As Gerald Miller would go on to say after the fight, he got hit with some stuff and got buzzed and zapped, and he was like, whoa, I got to be careful. But long story short, Gerald Miller was able to get him out of there. And now he's on to the next. He finished him off in round 6. But understand this. I want to make sure y'all understand this, right? With Gerald Miller, although he's standing around 6'4", 333 pounds, he's got to get his weight down. But let me tell y'all something, right? This man was with Eddie Hearn. You can say what you want about Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn gave him an opportunity for AJ. Gerald Miller messed it up with the Peds. Gave him another opportunity. Gerald Miller messed it up again. So that's what Eddie Hearn said. You know what? The man failed the Ped test, gave him another shot, came back, everything positive for Peds again, left him alone. Hooked up with Top Rank, failed another Ped test. So what that tells you is that obviously he was doing something wrong. Since then, his life has fallen apart, okay? Family, divorce, friends and stuff he had around him he thought was there for him. I mean, he said it's been rough, and I'm sure it's been rough. You got to live, right? You got to live with the rest of your life knowing you blew the opportunity to spend maybe 36 minutes in the ring to make $5, $6, $7 million. 36 minutes of your life, man. But you want to go out there and cheat. Just take the loss. But that being said, I'm not here to make jokes in this video or say anything crazy. I'm not going to talk about Blader Flair Cobb, although I think he's the best fighter in the world. What I'm going to tell you is, who would want to risk putting one of their guys, I messed up this damn thing, but who would you think would want to risk putting one of their guys in the ring with a guy like Gerald Miller? See, that's the problem that he's facing right now. Nobody wants to put their guy in there with him. So it is what it is. And he's kind of created his own misery. And that's his fault. That's his fault. He did it to himself. Nobody else did it to him. He did it to himself. While I'm talking, I'm fixing something. There we go. All right? So you think about, you got a guy like Gerald Miller who's failed all those tests. If you have a guy, let's say like Anthony Joshua who's rebuilding, or a guy like Dillian White who's trying to extend his boxing career by evolving his style with a Buddy McGirt, a Derek Chisora who is still looking for another fight to make some money, or if you look like even Andy Ruiz, you look at Luis Ortiz, right? Who's going to really want... First of all, he's a big guy. He's durable. He does have great stamina. And he's got some power, right? But who's going to want to risk putting a guy in there with him? Look, these promoters are not in the business to lose money. Could you imagine Gerald Miller, right, gets an opportunity to fight, let's say, who out there? Let's say Kubrat Pulev, right? Let's say they're going to do that fight out in Saudi. Let's say the Saudis decide they want to put up good money because he's bubbling up now. what's the guy named Salitza or whatever? He's getting them fights. Gets an opportunity. And for some reason, all the money they put up, promoting the fight and everything, you get right there to the finish line and this man tests positive for something. He's just too much of a risk. But he created that. He created that. No one else did that. He did that. And that's why I'm worried about him landing a big fight. Now, while we're talking, right, I'm going to pull something up while we're talking because I want to actually take a look at something. Because when I think about the heavyweight division, and I'm thinking about who could he possibly fight next, like there's a lot of names out there, but really what we need to look at is who do we think may be desperate enough to get in the ring with him. So let's take a look at it together and see just what we could be dealing with, okay? So when we look here, this is what we're dealing with for the heavyweights. All right, we know Usyk's not getting in the ring with him. We know Fury, Wilder, those names he's not even there. Even Joe Joyce is not. Andy Ruiz probably won't mess with him. Dillian White, that would be a good fight because they've talked so much trash. Luis Ortiz, I don't know. Luis Ortiz wants big money. But I just don't know what's going to happen there if he would do that. But Parker Hrgovic, Eddie Hearn's not letting him touch Hrgovic. Parker looks like he's on to bigger and better things. Frank Sanchez would be a good fight, but I'm not even sure Frank Sanchez would want it. So when you come down and look at the names under the sanctioning bodies, hell, what sanctioning body is going to want to even entertain having him as the heavyweight champion? Boxing is politics. And listen, I want to make sure y'all understand this. Like when I say what I'm about to say here, people think I'm joking when I talk about the secret society. That's my way of saying there's a symbiotic relationship across all of the sanctioning bodies. There's a symbiotic relationship across all promoters. There's a symbiotic relationship across, for the most part, I would say all managers, all networks. And that's what I say, that's what I refer to as the secret society. And when we talk about those relationships and being symbiotic, right? If you think I'm making that up, okay, you see how they can blackball somebody. And a guy like Gerald Miller, say he beats another name, right? Let's say he beats another name. Then what are we looking at? Now he's supposed to be getting in these rankings and bubbling back up, right? Watch these guys come together. The sanctioning bodies, man, they don't want to deal with that. Or even if he does, they put him in there somewhere 10, 9, ranked 7 or whatever. See if they give him those big fights. They're going to come together and he can only go so far. I really think he can only go so far because remember, these sanctioning bodies that we're talking about, the WBO, IBF, WBC, WBA, these sanctioning bodies, they have a brand and they want their brand represented well. At the same time, we can say, well, Tyson Fury, he's out here cussing, being ignorant, really a poor example for someone who claims to be an advocate for mental health. I get it. True. But Tyson Fury, careful what I'm saying, he didn't fail any damn 3 ped tests for multiple peds, man. Right? Now, I ain't going to get into that about no Tyson Fury. We've done that in another video. But what I'm saying is, that's an extreme case of having to just overlook something and get behind and keep supporting somebody. Like, how can you do that? You know what I'm saying? That's like someone is walking out and in broad daylight, a sawed-off shotgun, and blowing off a father's head, the mother's head, the children's heads off, and then going in the car with a grandma sleeping with a bucket of chicken and shooting her too. You just can't sit there, man, and condone that. You know what I'm saying? So let's take a look at who could, a guy like Gerald Miller, who I don't care what anyone feels, he's on his way. He's on his way to getting himself back in position. So we know, when we look at the WBO, let's see, is he even on here? Okay, he's not even on here, right? But him getting a shot at a Ruiz, no, Sanchez, number 3, Wadden, Hrgovic, Joshua, Wadden, Parker, then you got this guy, Demerizin, Anderson, Now that is a good fight. That's the fight they need to make next, in my opinion. But Jared Anderson is looking for a big fight against a Flip Hrgovic, a Zhang, maybe a Dylan White, a Chisora. He's looking for to take another step up the ladder. Him fighting Gerald Miller will be actually coming down, and that's not what he wants. But what I'm getting at is when you look at the WBO, I don't think any of these guys, their promoters and their team are going to want anything to do with Gerald Miller. Now let's look at the IBF, right? Gerald Miller's name is nowhere in here. So I'm going to say because his name is nowhere in here, he probably doesn't have a chance at all at fighting anyone who's listed underneath the IBF, unless they're listed somewhere else. So let's just skip on over to the WBC. You go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Gerald Miller is nowhere listed in the WBC. So I would think anyone who's listed in the WBC, he doesn't have a chance in hell at fighting him. But when you come to the WBA, right, check this out. Look what we just had happen. Come to the WBA, and put this down a little bit for you, right? Hold on a second. I want to make sure y'all see this. Make sure y'all see WBA ranking, right? Check this out. You come down to number 11. Gerald Miller just fought the number 10, Lucas Browne. He beat him. So now Gerald Miller is probably going to bubble up to the number 10 spot. He may crack into the WBC, IBF, and WBO rankings there somewhere at number 13 or 12. You guys understand what's happening? But for the WBA, Gerald Miller he's game. He is definitely an opponent for any of these guys here. So let's look at, he just clipped Browne. You got Guidry, you got Hrgovic. Look, and understand, I don't know much about Guidry, right? But that'll probably be his next fight if they can make it. Flip Hrgovic, you know they don't want Flip Hrgovic, his team, they're not going to want him to mess around at all with Gerald Miller because Gerald Miller is a high-risk situation. But Flip Hrgovic he's got problems on his hands with that damn, well, hold on, he's not fighting anybody. Yeah, he's not fighting anybody right now. Jalil Zhang is fighting Joyce. Hey, Hrgovic could be, but Eddie Hearn's not going to let that happen. After that comes Luis Ortiz. I just don't see the guys over at PBC letting that happen. But then again, so the reality, Hrgovic could be an opponent if they want to fight him. Ortiz could be an opponent. Let me tell you something. This guy, Arslandik Makhmudov, Gerald Miller's going to duck him. I'll tell you that right now. Lanier Perro, that's a good fight for Gerald Miller. But this guy can fight. But he got hurt in his last fight. But he showed that he could fight. Then Joshua Wilder and, I don't know much about Martin Bakole Ilunga. I don't. But what I'll tell you is, when I look here, let's just look at, I'll go ahead and make this a little bit larger for you, right? When we go here and we just look here at these names. You see you got Ilunga, Wilder, Joshua. We know Wilder and Joshua, they won't fight him. That's not going to happen, although Joshua said he would. Perro could possibly fight him. Makhmudov could possibly fight him. Don't know what Ortiz is doing. Sure, Eddie Hearn doesn't want Hrgovic messing with him. Don't know much about Guidry. So Miller has options. He really has options. But it's only going to be underneath the WBA. I don't see any of these other sanctioning bodies really wanting to mess with him. But that being said, he put himself in this position. And I want to see every boxer win, all right? I may have guys I don't agree with, but at the end of the day, I would like to see them all win. These guys have families. They have kids. They have people they love. There's people that love them, right? So if they suffer, they're stressed and something's not working out, they're just knowing they got to take that home and the children could possibly be affected, spouses, whatever, that's not cool. But at the end of the day, when you create your own misery, that's your right. It's his choice to do whatever he wants to do. Now you got to deal with the consequences. And unfortunately, he's in position now because he's not a contender. He hasn't taken a lot of punishment in his career. He's still fresh. He's got to get that weight down. Hopefully he can get down about 315. That's it. He said that's his goal for his next fight. 315, 300, then we may have a serious problem here. If he can do it without being tempted to use illegal substances. That's all I'm saying. But that being said, let's see what happens with Gerald Miller. But he has some options. But right now, I don't know what's going to happen next for him. You know what I'm saying? I honestly don't. Seeing that he just fought an Australian fighter, maybe he fights Dempsey McKean. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know. Dempsey McKean, but I think he's associated with Eddie Hearn, right? So I don't know what he's going to do. But there's a lot of names in the heavyweight division. I just don't think the promoters, I don't think the managers, I don't even think the fighters are going to want to risk getting in the ring with him. Not even about him about them losing to him. It's what happens if a lot of money gets put behind him. You got to fight first. Promoter puts money behind him. His opponent trains and gets ready for a fight. And then all of a sudden the fight doesn't happen because of some craziness. You know what I'm saying? I think they would duck him. But that being said, let's see what happens next for him. I hope he stays clean. Hope he learned from his lesson. He has an opportunity to still make a lot of money in boxing. But he's just got to keep his nose clean and keep winning. That being said, let's go Jarrell Miller. But at the same time, you chose to not hold your horses and you took it to the stupid. So it is what it is. That being said, let's see what happens in the future. Y'all keep cool. You know what I'm in. The Breeze.